NC pork, good for the plate, great for the state. Welcome in, Carolina, to Bold North State Football Daily, right here on the North Carolina Sports Network. I am Mike Waddell. Duke, NC State, Wake Forest all picked up big wins last week, and North Carolina officially has fallen out of bowl contention, save for maybe a technicality out there. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But before we dive in, man, we got to give you our starting lineups for week 14 of the college football season here in North Carolina. Joining us first, he is up and to your left, Coach Tim Brewster, one of the greatest recruiters in the history of college football, one of New Jersey's best ever prep talents, a JUCO rising star then in California, and later a Rose Bowl team captain for the Fighting Illini of Illinois. He is a Bold North State native and man who knows this region's football DNA better than anybody. The coach, Jim Collins, longtime defensive mastermind of mayhem at multiple levels of the game. He is fluent in English, Spanish, and football and brings an unmatched defensive mind to the NCSN family. Jim Collins and Tim Brewster, we are hyped for you guys.
Damn, son, you're on a roll. I tell you what, I didn't know we were so damn popular out there. Did you, Bruce? Jeez,
now, hey, take a breath, Mike.
Hey, you know what? I just wanted to be like you guys because last week you got to do your pep talks.
Absolutely.
See, you've coached Hall of Famers, Brew, and Hall of Famers, Jim. You're my Hall of Famers. I'm pumped for you. What a weekend. We're to that part of the season. Jim, you've been talking about it all season long, November to remember. And wow, boy, the Blue Devils, they're keeping that victory bell. ACC chaos is going crazy. NC State getting it all started by knocking off Florida State. Guys, what kind of a weekend did you commit to your memory banks here? And what, Tim Brewster, stood out to you the most?
Well, you know, the Friday night football, Carter Finley Stadium, Raleigh, North Carolina. It was set up, Florida State has been a very, very poor football team record-wise on the road. They walked into a buzzsaw on Friday night, a great crowd. The place was lit. I didn't feel good about that game for Florida State from the beginning, and from the kickoff to the end of the game, it just progressively got worse for Florida State. You know, amazing special teams blunders and just a whole myriad of problems throughout the course of the game. NC State, hey, they played their butts off. Coach Dorn is got his guys playing at a high level going into the huge game this week against the Tar Heels.
Under the lights after a full day of drinking out at Carter Finley Stadium. But Jim Collins, man, two of your former employers squared out over that bell over at Kenan Stadium on Saturday. I got to tell you, it was a weird environment over there, just kind of stale from start to finish, and not a lot of excitement right now in the Kenan Football Center. But for Duke, man, right now, they just continue to just get better and better. They have a down week, but then they come back and they get the win right there. So, Jim, what were your leadoff thoughts on Duke, Carolina, the 112th meeting?
Well, the interesting thing is, Brew just made the comment about the North Carolina State Florida State game with the special teams being a factor in that game, and you have to move just up the road to Kenan Stadium, and once again, special teams were a huge factor in the game. I thought the Tar Heel offense was as effective as it has been all year. I thought Gio Lopez played well, but when you failed to recover an onside kick when you rough the kicker and off of a missed field goal and give up a touchdown the next play. And when you give up a fake field goal that sets up the winning touchdown, and you have a kickoff return that goes to midfield. So those are all the Duke's points. All came off those special teams plays. A lot of people say you can't lose a game or win a game on special teams or lose one. I beg to differ, because you can certainly win one, and you can, and that's a great example of how you lose one right there. What the Blue Devils have been able to do over the few years, they've been able to separate themselves in the fourth quarter and find a way to win games in the fourth quarter. Now, that's we can. It's closing ability and the ability to believe in what you are doing and the confidence that you're going to go win the game at the end.
Well, Duke has certainly taken over this Bold North State and Tobacco Road. They are dominating this Big Four rivalry series presented here on the North Carolina Sports Network by our friends at NC Port. Duke's won the last 5 against NC State, North Carolina, and Wake Forest. They got the Demon Deacons coming up this weekend. Brew, when you see what Duke is doing off the field, they're making some hay with this. They're getting some PR, and that impacts recruiting. But what are they doing on the field that has just elevated Duke football to the next level? And I tell you, Wake Forest is right behind the Blue Devils in there for number 2 right now.
Well, I'm going to tell you what I see, Mike, and I see a different Duke football team from a physical standpoint. There's a coach at Duke who, not many people know about, the strength coach, okay? And his name is David Feely. David Feely may be absolutely the best strength coach in America. The guy has got he's got all kinds of piss and vinegar, and he's got expertise. That football team is well conditioned. They look strong. They look ready to last the full 4 quarters, playing 60 minutes. And that's what I see, that's what I see Duke doing, and making plays. They've got a quarterback that's a playmaker. Just the fact that, and that was a hell of a rundown, Jim, that you gave on that game. The fake field goal. Okay. There's a timeout prior to the fake field goal. Okay. And I know we're in a situation right here where I'm going to tell you what, Manny is got some balls. He's gonna make a call to go win the football game. He wasn't trying to be there. He was there to win the game, and that's exactly what they did. I continue to be very, very impressed with the Duke Blue Devils. But there's a guy, like I said, David Feely. He's that guy behind the scenes, getting those guys bigger, stronger, faster, and nastier.
I agree with you 100%. I think he's a huge factor in what they do. We've talked about the huge impact that a strength coach has on a program anyway, and that what their ability to grow a team in the offseason is such a huge factor. And David Feely is huge in that situation, without a doubt. I agree with you 100%. I think it showed at the end of the game with the Duke D line when they came through with pressure at the end of the game to come up with 3 sacks to close out the game. So all huge factors in closing games.
I think Mike, and this needs to be said. Okay, North Carolina continues to not play smart football. They continue to have self-inflicted wounds. Jim said, 12 guys on the field, pre-snap fouls, again, I like that word myriad, a whole myriad of issues that have really, really hurt them. as they put themselves in position to go win games. Gio Lopez, shoot, I thought Gio Lopez was outstanding in that game. I thought that sucker was tough, Jim. I thought he sat in the pocket and took licks like a man.
Mhm.
I mean, and the ball came out on a rope. I mean, he really played well. They're still not, running the ball. They're not diverse enough. But I thought that kid really played well, and he deserves to be commended.
I've been negative about him all year. And me personally, I didn't think he was good enough. But I agree with you 100%. He stood in there and did things that I didn't know that he was capable of doing. He made throws. He showed toughness. He actually ran with the football in some situations and made some plays there. But I want all of you to go back and look as we look at this. Go back and look at the roughing the kicker on the missed field goal. It was the exact same rush that they used on the fake field goal. Go back and watch number 29 lay out on both of them. One of them, he gets a roughing call. The other one, they lose contain. Somebody's got to have contain out there. I don't know who has contain, but somebody's got to have it when you come off the edge. It appeared to me to be the exact same rush. So the Blue Devils had confirmed what they had seen on video, and they felt if the opportunity came, they could take advantage of it.
From the Piedmont line between Charlotte and Raleigh to the Carolinian running through Durham, the Triad, and up to the Northeast, NC by Train connects you to the places you go most, with deals for every kind of traveler. Kids 2 to 12 ride half price every day. College students save 15% when they book a day ahead. State employees save 15% on travel within the state. And groups of 3 to 8 can score big with ShareFare savings. Veterans, active duty military and families, seniors, and passengers with disabilities all qualify for special discounts too. Travel easy. Travel smart. Visit ncbytrain.org and make it train.
The weekend started out, though, in Raleigh on Friday night. NC State 21, Florida State 11. Devin Marshall put on a show. Man, he had 6 passes broken up there, Jim Collins, 2 interceptions. He shut down a 6-star receiver from Florida State, and Dave Doran. He's back to coaching aggressive Dave style.
That's a hell of a record against the Seminoles. But of course, the Seminoles over the last few years, they had the 13-0 year. Other than that, they've been fairly mediocre as you look at it. It's been a struggle for them through the years, especially since Jimbo and the Brew Crew left from down there. Give them their dues. We can't pass that opportunity up. With the national championship and all, but yeah, you give the Wolfpack a great deal of credit. I mean, to hold that offense, which was the number 1 offense or number 2 offense in the ACC, to hold them to 11 points. And as I watched the game, the most productive player for Florida State was the quarterback, and most of those came on scrambles. That they couldn't keep. The Wolfpack struggled to keep him in the pocket. But other than that, the Wolfpack gave up 383 yards in the game, but they forced, and not counting the kicking, but I have to guess you have to count these, they forced 4 turnovers. Turnovers get you beat in a hurry, don't they, Mr. Offensive Coach?
Absolutely, Jim. The turnovers are bad, and explosive plays are even worse. And I just tell you, in a game in which, they were saying that Mike Norvell was playing for his job, and they needed it was a must-win game for Florida State on the road, and they just didn't play well. They just didn't play well, and whether or not they were a little bit uptight, what exactly they were. Castellanos, I thought he did some really good things, but other than that, they just had a couple of real special teams gaffes back to back late in the game that really put a fork in the game for NC State. And congrats to Coach Dorn and the Wolfpack, man. They got him another one, man. And Florida State's got to figure it out. Florida State, there's no reason that Florida State should have the record that they do on the road. Okay, they got to find a way to win some games on the road.
Okay, so this is where I'm going to come in and put my media hat on for a second, take off my AD hat. And I want to ask you, coaches, what the hell are coaches talking about when they were saying, well, we're close. We're darn close. We have to learn how to win. What the hell are they talking about?
I worked a long time, 19 years for a guy by the name of Spurrier, and I don't know that I ever heard him utter the words, "We're close." We either were good enough or we were not good enough, or we have to play better. We could win by 50 and still have to play better because for him, it was never good enough. Close was never good enough. So I don't believe in being close. Either you win or you lose. Yeah, you either play good or you don't, or you play well enough to win or you play well enough to lose. I don't know what being close means. That means you got to learn to win at some point.
You are what your record says you are. Okay? Simple as that. You are what your record says you are. What is close, man? I've got no idea what the hell close is. Close means that you got your ass whipped by somebody. I think that's what, well, we're close. Yep, I'm going to tell you what. Now you got to hang with us because we're close. You are what your record says you are. And you know what? What you were saying, Mike, and teams have to learn how to win games. You got to find a way to win. You got to take games into the fourth quarter. Okay. And we practiced the fourth quarter stuff all during practice. I mean, really made an emphasis with our kids about it being the fourth quarter. Hey, everybody's got the hands up, fourth quarter, right? Let's go. Games are won and lost in the fourth quarter. Last possession games, and you got to learn how to win them. And you have to win one so that you feel the confidence that, hey, you know what? We can do this, And for whatever reason right now, bad teams are poor fourth quarter teams, and they've just got to play better in the fourth quarter. And you just got to understand how important the possessions are, in three phases in the fourth quarter.
You got to have a plan. You're 100%. You got to have a plan on how to win the game when the game is close. And you have to go out and the players have to be confident enough to execute. Hell, I played 9 holes of golf yesterday. I almost made a hole in one. I was close to a hole in one. But you know what? I didn't make it. So at some point I need to practice watching that golf ball go in the hole off my tee shots. But I'm close, Mike. I'm close, Tim, to making a hole in one.
I'm a guy who was close a bunch as a head coach, and I'm now, I'm the Fired Football Coaches Association. I'm with them because I was close. I didn't win. You got to win, man. You got to win. Chip Kelly just got fired with the Raiders, and I love this comment today. He said, "Shit, we're paid to win. We didn't win. That's why I'm fired." And he he was all good with it.
The top 60% of college football to make a bowl game. Other than the obvious practices, is there any benefit to playing in one of these bowl games anymore? I mean, back in the day, Brew, when you were playing in the Rose Bowl, and Jim, you and I were coming up, we were all breaking in more or less the same, decade there. Man, there were only 18 bowl games.
Back in the day, it was a second spring practice.
Right.
It was a great opportunity, the player development. But today, with the changing of rosters, guys coming and go with the portal, you're basically training a lot of your players for somebody else to coach them.
Right.
It's that simple. And so, I don't think it's nearly as vital as it used to be, that second spring practice. And spring practice, I'm just going to tell you guys, it's just like kickoff. It's not going to be around much longer, I don't believe. Spring practice is going to disappear. Kickoff is going to disappear. I mean, it's just there's an evolution in the game right now. And right now, Jim sent me a really good thing about with Nick Saban. Talking about college football and talking about these contracts, right, Jim? And expound on that, Jim, what you saw, because I think that now's a great time.
Well, I think the interesting thing that Coach Saban says, and he's so correct, our calendar is so screwed up.
Right.
I mean, we have National Signing Day for high school players coming up on December the 3rd. Well, we've got teams still playing games. And then we've got a transfer portal that comes up in early January, and we've got so much out of place. You're talking about a team that could be playing for a national championship, but yet they've got to spend time recruiting their entire roster and trying to keep their roster in place. Spring practice is worthless now with the transfer portal. We need to go in college football. Coach Saban said this. I didn't make this up, but Mike, you and I have talked about this before. We need to go to an NFL model and allow that to go to OTAs in the summer and to have mini camps in the summer and get rid of spring practice. Spring practice is nothing, because most of the time, look at Carolina. Carolina had added 40 football players after they completed spring practice. So how much did spring practice help them? Not at all. So the quarterback they played with all year did not go through spring practice with them. So we
And it
need
showed.
changes. Pardon me.
And it showed.
Yeah, and it showed. And we need structure in college football. We need contracts, that these players are under contract, that they don't have unlimited free agency. I believe they should be paid. They should be paid. But when you get paid, there comes a contract with that. So we have to make some moves forward, or we're going to lose the direction of college football. There's going to be a separation. And when that separation comes, there's going to be some winners. And when I say winners, I'm talking about universities. And there's going to be some losers, because there's going to be people that are going to get left behind, and they're not going to be included in this next move. And so what we need to do, we need to go back and we need to create a non-Power 4 national championship series also, and let them play their own deal, and let these guys, whether it's 30 teams, 32 teams, 20 teams, let them have their own deal and play each other. And let's eliminate all the other stuff out there, and let's eliminate the discussion on who should be in the playoffs and who should not be in the playoffs. I know
Brew,
that's a long dissertation, but I truly believe and we need big changes.
well, and I love this. And Brew, you were right in the middle of this last year down at Charlotte, right? You go through the midseason coaching change, you take over and lead the 49ers strong through the balance of that season. You go through the coaching search. The guy who hired the new coach at Charlotte's already been fired. So we've established that there was perhaps a challenge in some of the decision-making capacity there, because you should be the head coach at Charlotte. But Brew, even if you do all of your great Brew things and you're bringing in Texas or Florida State or Texas A&M type of classes into Charlotte, which we all know you would have done a great job of recruiting there. But what the hell difference does it make? Because at the end of the day, for UNC Charlotte or Appalachian State or East Carolina for that matter, to be able to make it into the college football playoff, brother, you're going to have to hit that green roulette 00 3 times in a row. I mean, it's never going to happen. What is it like to lead one of those programs and know that you literally have very little shot at playing for anything substantial?
Well, Mike and Jim, you know this. It's a year-to-year thing, and from year to year, your roster is going to totally change. You're going to, at places like Charlotte and App, and that, you have to do an amazing job with player development. You got to develop kids, because you're not going to go get the 4-star, the 5-star guys. You're going to get the lower 2 and 3-star guys that you're going to develop as players. Now, this is what we're doing, okay? Jim was big time defensive coach. He was going to take them linebackers and he was going to coach the living hell out of them. And then guess what Jim was going to do? Then Jim's going to turn them over to Oklahoma, or he's going to turn them over to Nebraska. He's going to, because they're going to poach your team. They're going to poach your players. That's a fact. And I mean, it's just so frustrating for me to think about, being at a place like Charlotte, being at those places where, where you're going to lose your best players every year. You're not going to keep them. Okay. The bottom line is somebody, if they're a really good player, if you've really developed them, then they're going to leave, guys. Somebody's going to pay them money and they're going to leave. And that's a damn shame that that's where we're at now with our game. It ain't good. Okay. That's not a positive thing about our game right now is the way these rosters just turn over and kids are coming and going. And the bottom line is it's all about money. It's all about money. I loved it. I think I may have brought it up, Mike, to you and Jim, with Kirby. He says, hey, if you're all about money, you ain't going to be at Georgia. Okay. If you're about hitting people, if you're about competing, I'm going to want. Now, make no mistake about it, Georgia still pays, but the mentality is there that, you know what? You better love ball because you ain't going to exist in this environment. We're going to practice so hard. We're going to practice tough. We're going to compete in every drill, everything we do in our off-season program. And you know what? If that's not you, okay, if this ain't part of your deal, and you're a really good player, be gone, man. And I love that. I love that about what Kirby's doing, the mentality, the attitude that he takes towards building his team. And to be honest with you guys, who's doing it better than Georgia?
Hey, Brew, I think you'll appreciate this. You've been through the NFL draft and the closing rounds of the NFL draft. And as the NFL draft begins to come to a close, as a coach, you're on the phone with agents, you're on the phone with players, and you're doing what? You're recruiting them to come to your team as a free agent. The agents and the coaches that are on the phone right now with college free agents, because they're all free agents right now, it is running rampant. You've got players that are trying to make a decision whether they're going to play in a bowl game already, and hell, their team's not even in a bowl game right yet. I fear for teams that get into the playoffs, into this playoff situation. There will be players that will opt out of that because they'll get a better deal somewhere else. We need changes, men. We need changes, and we need them soon.
Oh, one of the coaches that has had a great first year at his new place is a guy who was a head coach and brought his staff and some key players on in, followed that Cignetti model between James Madison and Indiana. We're talking, of course, about Jake Dickert, who is the odds-on favorite to be the ACC Coach of the Year. He has a chance right now to get in some pretty rare air, guys, with a potential 8th win right now already on the board. He's looking at potentially 9 wins, 10 wins at Wake Forest. Guys, this is a team that lost to NC State earlier in the year. I don't think they'd lose to the Wolfpack right now, but this is a pretty impressive rebirth for Wake Forest football, Jim, from where we were watching Dave Clawson come out and just almost have a breakdown after every game last year. What is it about Jake Dickert that has been able to turn that garbage from Dave Clawson, not talking about the players, you know what I mean, taking a program that he didn't see any value in him leading anymore, and Jake Dickert looks at it like it's his golden ticket, and he is absolutely Charlie at the chocolate factory over there.
Let me say this. They are playing outstanding defense at Wake Forest. Their points allowed. I'm going to give you some numbers here because I got interested in this. And their 3 losses. In their 3 losses, they gave up 34 to North Carolina State, 30 to Georgia Tech in a game they should have won, as we all know, a controversial call at the end of that game. And they gave up 42 to Florida State. Well, let me give you some numbers in their wins. They've given up 9, 10, 23, 14, 12, 9, 12, and 14. So guess what? If you keep a team from scoring, you got a pretty damn good chance of winning a game. So this team that we're talking about, these Demon Deacons with the Georgia Tech win, just look at where this team could be. And I agree, they're doing a great job on both sides of the ball, and they're finishing games, and they're playing great defense. They're the number two. They're the third ranked defense in the ACC right now, giving up 316 yards a game. So I think they have to give their defense a lot of credit. Brew, you can talk about their offense, which is up and down. They scored 54 against a Delaware team, but I think you have to credit their defense with a lot of their success.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question, Jim, that defense has led the way for Wake, and Jake Dickert. He's a guy. To me, I just look at him, Jim. He's the profile of what is winning in college football. He's a tough, hard-nosed, no nonsense guy. Okay, he's got a plan. He's got an exact formula on how he wants to practice. He's going to put his team in situations in practice that's going to prepare him for the game. I could not be more impressed with him and just his demeanor. He's come in there at Wake and he said, "Hey, listen, I don't give two rips about what Wake has done in the past. We're going to work on this thing from this day and this day forward." And offensively, they're not crazy. They're not lighting the scoreboard on fire, but they're not turning the ball over. They're not turning the ball over. They're getting a fair amount of explosive plays. But again, like Jim said, defensively, Lord have mercy. I mean, they're playing outstanding defense. They're keeping the ball in front of them. They're not giving up the home run explosive play over the top. I mean, it's just like, they're playing like a veteran, well-seasoned football team, man. And Coach Dickert just got there. Let's think about, guys, the improvement you make from year one to year two is amazing. Think about Wake, where, coming back, if they're able to hold their roster together, coming back next year is going to just be, I think it's going to be, they got to be one of the top teams, or voted to the top of the ACC.
Are you juggling so many roles that none of them feel like you anymore? At Organize for Success, we help busy, multi-passionate leaders bring harmony back to every layer of life. Work, side projects, family, friends, even your passions and hobbies. For more than a decade, productivity expert Emily Parks has helped hundreds of clients clarify what truly matters and build the tools, systems, and habits to finally take action. If you're tired of feeling behind, visit organizeforsuccess.com and schedule your complimentary call today. Organize for Success. Get clear, get supported, get your time back.
What does Carolina gain, if anything, by not having to go play in a game that nobody wants to play in anyway? Another bowl game down in Charlotte that can't sell out. I mean, what does Carolina gain by getting this time to get back out there and get active in this portal that is obviously going to be rich with a lot of moves taking place in the collegiate college coaching ranks?
Mike Lombardi, Bill Belichick, that staff, they've got their hands full. There's absolutely no reason for North Carolina to not at least be a bowl eligible football team. I understand transitions are hard, transitions are tough. I was with Coach Brown when we went 1-10, and then we came back and we won. But they've got to do, they've got to figure out exactly on that roster who needs to be in Chapel Hill and who doesn't. And then they've got to really take a great look at the portal, take a great look at the player acquisition that's out there that can improve this football team. But based on the product that we're seeing right now, North Carolina's got a long way to go. A long way to go. And again, like I said, there's no reason for them not to be at least a bowl eligible football team. So that's a huge disappointment, for Coach Belichick, for the Tar Heels, for them not to at least be bowl eligible in their first year.
Guys, you both talked about how you were impressed with Gio Lopez and his performance against Duke. He's gotten better as the season goes on, but so much of the talk out there criticizing Carolina has been on their play calling, which is the offensive coordinator, Freddie Kitchens, and the quarterback, Heavy is the head that wears the crown in Gio Lopez. How big of a mistake was it? If we're going to point a finger at somebody, I think you got to look to that transition and bringing in an entirely new staff, off the ball, on the ball, position coaches, and your personnel department. Carolina had nobody to really focus in on this stuff. And they whiffed on the quarterback from Purdue, who is back at quarterback at Purdue after being the quarterback at Carolina in the spring. I mean, Gio Lopez, it's not his fault that he was the best guy left on the board when it was literally the third helping at the transfer portal table.
We're talking a lot about the roster. We're talking a lot about the players. But I think the first order of business for Coach Belichick is to take a look at his staff. Okay? Take a look at his staff and decide where he needs to go. Is there change? It's a hard part of our profession. I had to do it as a head coach. I had to let some guys go. It's an awful thing. It's a tough thing, but it needs to be done. There's cases where it needs to be done. And so I think that Coach Belichick has some hard decisions to make on his staff. And is there going to be changes there? Because I think if there's going to be changes on the coaching staff, obviously they need to be done before he gets to the roster and the other things with the players. And so, but I think that that's going to be a critical component for Coach Belichick as he looks at, okay, the season being over. He's got exit interviews with every single player. He'll sit down with every single player and go through, hey, what you did good, what you did bad, what you need to improve on, the whole thing, the whole shooting match. But he'll do the same thing with all the coaches and make a decision. Hey, do I have to make a change or are we going to stay status quo and move forward?
Everybody's concerned about the position of quarterback, okay? And here in North Carolina, everybody's excited to see about the development of Bryce Baker, the guy who wears jersey number 2 for the Tar Heels, played for East Forsyth last year, was a major recruit for Bill Belichick to be able to keep in state. But you're recruiting a quarterback every year.
Change is a part of the game, and change in coaches, change in players. Players come and go, coaches come and go. And so I think players are extremely resilient. I think that you as a coach, you have to do a great job of getting to know the player, coaching the player. I mean, Bryce Baker, whoever the quarterback coach is, whoever the offensive coordinator is, I mean, he needs to spend a bunch of time with this young fella. And he needs to develop and sure they probably will. Maybe they will go get another guy out of the portal, but hey, that's coaching. That's our job. Our job is to not bitch. I hear more coaches bitch about, I got nobody in my room. I got no players in my room. Right, Jim? I mean, well, whose fault is that? That's your fault as the coach. Go get some players. Go recruit some, go find some. And so, I don't buy into that theory at all about, hey, and if you want to get me pissed and hot and all that good stuff, just say, hey, we got no players, because that's just bull crap.
Don't tell me what a player can't do. Tell me what he can do and grow him into being a better player. That's your job as an assistant coach. And Brew, you're 100% correct. Don't tell me I don't have any players in my room, because last I checked, you can go recruit. So you better go find you some. And if you don't find yourself some, then you get your ass fired. Simple as that.
There you go.
Every great team has a winning playbook, and every great meal, it starts with North Carolina pork. Bacon for the early tip breakfast, pulled pork at the arena. That's how you win the day. Behind every bite, NC pig farmers fuel more than $10 billion in economic impact statewide. Great teams execute. Great meals deliver. North Carolina pork. Game on, grill on. Learn more at ncpork.org.
Back-to-back Big Four rivalry games. It starts at 3:30 from Wallace Wade Stadium over at Duke. It is Wake Forest against Duke. The Blue Devils are 3.5-point favorites. This one could be a lot of fun to watch. You just never know. It's a rivalry game. And Jim Collins, you've been a part of a lot of these Duke Wake Forest games, first with Coach Spurrier, then later on with Coach Cutcliffe. What do you expect from the Blue Devils as they go out with a lot to play for on the line, same as Wake Forest? These guys are playing for some big wins right now on their schedule.
This is a huge game. It was always a big game when I was at Duke, as big as Carolina and as big as NC State, because it's the two private schools. The two private schools going against each other. You got the Methodist versus the Baptist, and I know the players don't realize that schools have church affiliations anymore, hardly. But at the same time, it was a huge rivalry, and it was one that was very intense. So this could be a heck of a game now. These are two decent teams that will go in, and the interesting thing, it's going to be the Duke offense against the Wake defense. And the Duke offense has not been overly productive in the last few weeks. They did enough last week to win with a great special teams play. But it'll be critical that they put some points up on the board and play well on offense against a very, very good Demon Deacon defense.
Duke is going to we're going to have to see the best version that we can of Duke. When Duke is playing at a high level, they're a really good football team. I mean, I picked them to win almost every game that they played this year, and they're coming off of a nice victory. You got to be careful, right, Jim? Because everybody, attaboy. Sure, you guys were great last week, man. Well, I'm going to tell you what, those same people that are loving on you, they'll kick you in the butt when you lose. So I think that Duke has got a really good football team. I think it's going to be a tough, hard-fought game. Going to be, I think both those teams are extremely well coached, and I think they're going to play with energy and fire, and hopefully, Duke, it's their home field game. I'll be really surprised if Duke doesn't find a way to win that game.
From Friday night lights to championship moments, the North Carolina High School Athletic Association makes it all happen. Supporting student athletes across the state, the NCHSAA is the heart of high school sports in North Carolina. Learn more and get involved at nchsaa.org. That's nchsaa.org. The North Carolina High School Athletic Association, where champions are made.
All righty. So we're down to the final game of the weekend in the ACC. We're talking about NC State and North Carolina. I don't know about this one, guys. I tell you, the first time I was a part of this game as a professional, I was on Coach Brown's staff there, and Brew, you were there, and we went over to Carter Finley Stadium. I got off the bus quick. Coach Brown got off the bus. This little old lady was sitting there with a nice red and white checkered Afghan over her legs. And when Coach Brown went over, as he would like to do, went over to talk with her, she gave him the double finger salute right there and told him he was Denny Hamlin, number 11 in her hearts. This one's getting kind of nasty, I tell you, over the years. And I think it really plays into the type of mentality that Dave Doran tries to set up for the Wolfpack at NC State. They play to this blue-collar mentality. I don't think Carolina, and this is no slam on anybody that's over there, they just don't really have a mentality right now. They don't really have a vibe around the team. It's very vanilla. And you get the feeling like, man, they're about to take like a stapler to a knife fight. I think NC State's going to come out hard in this one, and it just means more to NC State than it seems to North Carolina.
They had better figure it out in Chapel Hill, okay? Because I'm going to promise you now, NC State's going to come, and they're going to come hard. They're going to come nasty. They're going to come ready and prepared. Jim, you remember years ago that two coaches, okay, NC State coach and a North Carolina coach, and it just happened to be my old buddy Donnie Thompson. They got in a fight on the field, okay, and whether or not it was before or after, but I'm going to tell you, it set the tone, it sent the message to everybody. Hey, game on. And this game, it really means something to the people in the state of North Carolina. I said the other day, when that ball's kicked off, Tar Heel Nation is kicking the ball off together with us. And those players better buy into that. They better understand it, because there's, in this state, you grow up, and to be honest with you, it's either North Carolina or NC State, I love Duke, I love Wake, I love it, but that game right there is a special game. It's a heated game. It's everything a rivalry is supposed to be about. Is it not, Jim?
It is an outstanding rivalry, and as you have, Brew, I've been a part of Florida and Georgia. I've been a part of Florida State. We go through them all. I've been a part of Duke, Carolina. I've been a part of Carolina, NC State. I've been part of all of them. But this is a big one now, and I'm going to tell you what, the ACC and TV didn't do the Tar Heels any favors, because it's a night game in Carter Finley, and those fans will be rocking, and that place will be stoked, and it'll be a great atmosphere now, without a doubt. So you better come in with your pants laced up, and your shoulder pads on tight, and your mouthpiece in, because somebody's going to get their ass rocked on Saturday night. I can tell you that.
Okay, guys. So I've watched these teams play both in person this year and obviously on tape. I'm telling you right now, NC State, it means something to them. And it means something to them, Tim Brewster and Jim Collins, guys who have coached and recruited the Bold North State for Carolina and Duke. And man, you've been all around it. It means more to NC State because 60% of their team comes from the state of North Carolina. Compared to Tim Brewster, I almost flopped out of my seat whenever I totaled this up. 60 players on the roster for Dave Doran from North Carolina. Less than 20 remaining on the roster right now, on the Tar Heels roster for 2025 from the state of North Carolina. That's a long time problem.
Yeah, that's an issue right there. And Mac Brown is the absolute best. Okay, he's the best recruiter at Utah. Me and Mac Brown together were pretty good. But I'll say this much: he put a huge emphasis on the in-state player, that understands, hey, I ain't losing to Wake. I ain't losing to Duke. I ain't losing to State. And really bought into how meaningful, how prideful you need to be representing the state of North Carolina at University of North Carolina. And I think that's something that will be a huge mistake if Coach Belichick doesn't, really take a hard look at recruiting the in-state player harder, getting more in-state players, because there's no reason, Mike, for there to be 60% over in Raleigh. And what you said, 20%?
20%. And
Yeah.
and that to me is just I can't even fathom that about how that is. But I think it puts even more pressure, Brew, on some of the guys that you coached.
Right.
The Natron Means, who is
Right.
on that staff right now, the Kevin Donnelly, who is in the front office, Dwight Hoyer, who is working, doing things for the Tar Heel football team. Those guys who had played, Rick Steinbacher, who played for Coach Brown in his early time, for them to be around, but they're old heads. Nobody's listening to them. I mean, we're about to announce this week that we're doing a show with a student athlete from NC State, Vin Allen Lubin. And man, just getting to know Vin and learning what's important to these kids, man, it's a fascinating cocktail recipe in these kids' heads of what they choose to care about at any given time. But I would think it'd be really hard to get somebody who transferred in from another school to really give a damn about your rivalry when you're here for a paycheck. Yeah. And that's where I think, and I haven't picked a lot of games this year, I would be surprised if North Carolina is to within 40 points of NC State at the end of this week's game. Because I think Carolina is to the point right now, and this was my observation of them walking off the field the other night after the game against Duke. They're done. Yeah. They are done. Not, and I don't say that with any malice or prejudice. They're just done.
We had the fight of the two coaches. We got it on video, okay? And I'm going to promise you that was part of the pregame before NC State, showing two coaches. I'm talking now. This wasn't no like patty cake fight, no pushing and pulling. This was two guys that was trying to break each other's neck, And I mean, it just encapsulates how mean this game is real, man. State, Carolina, man. I mean, come on, man. You don't want our fans don't want to wake up on Monday morning and go to work and freaking take a bunch of razzing from the Wolfpack fans. Ain't happening now. Ain't gonna let it happen, And so you just really have to do your job as coaches and make the players totally understand this ain't just an ordinary game, man. This shit right here is real.
How much does it hurt North Carolina if they were to go out, lost to Wake Forest, lost to Duke, and lost to NC State in that order to end out the first year of the Belichick era? What damage does that do? Not what these fake media nerds are talking about around here, but literally, guys, what does it mean to the ball coaches in the state and to the recruiting that you're finishing out your first season, Bill Belichick and company, on a 3-game skid?
Well, I think the big thing that it does is how does it affect your fan base, and how does it affect the ability for the people? And I know it's a long history of the North Carolina fans that in the end they lose interest in football. If you're not, I don't know what it takes to keep the interest in football at the University of North Carolina. I guess you got to win an ACC again at some point in time. But we're in an era right now where you need money, and you need money from a lot of different people. And so losing to your in-state rivals on consecutive weeks now, it leaves a bad taste in your mouth. There are a lot of people at the University of North Carolina right now that are really a heck of a lot more interested in how the Carolina basketball team's going to do than they are the North Carolina football team's going to do against NC State. I think it's the exact opposite in Raleigh. I think they don't care what basketball is doing right now because they want to whip the Tar Heels' butt on Saturday night in Carter Finley Stadium.
I think it's going to, Mike, it's going to come down to one thing, okay? Can North Carolina match the intensity? Can they match the nastiness that NC State's going to bring to this game? Every coach at North Carolina better have his ass on fire. Okay? He better be pouring it into those kids, and those kids, the hair on the back of their neck better be standing up. I mean, it's guys, come on, man. This is not just a game, man. This is more than a game, this rivalry right here. And as much as Coach Belichick, he can bring his energy. He can bring, the coach, they got to bring it, Jim. That's the only chance that North Carolina is going to have.
Well, I'll tell you what, it would be interesting if and this is probably a little bit of a low blow, but I don't know. Maybe the Tar Heels could win the drag race, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
With their cars. Right. If you've read about what's going on with speeding tickets and things like that,
well, let's talk about an adult who has a big decision to make, and I'm going to get you two to give me your opinion on Lane Kiffin here as we close out this edition of Bold North State Football Daily. It's been announced that following the Egg Bowl, which is the game between Mississippi State and Ole Miss at the end of every season on the Friday after Thanksgiving, that following the Egg Bowl, that I guess, Moses will go up to the mountaintop, the burning bush will reveal the decision, and we will know if Lane Kiffin is going to be at the Grove, or if he is going to be in Tiger Stadium, or if he will be in the swamp. So
he's going to do exactly what Jimmy Sexton can get him to do. That's exactly what. If you look around the country right now, there has not been, and I heard this on a show this morning, there has not been a single Sexton coach that has re-upped his contract. Not one of them. They're all sitting out there waiting to see what happens with Lane and to see what Lane is going to do. I would be willing to say this, that if either Florida or LSU announces that they're going a different direction at some point this week, then they know they are out of the mix for Lane Kiffin. So keep your ears open and your eyes open to see what comes out with whichever LSU or Florida. If Florida says, "Hey, we've decided to go a different direction," that means Lane's going to LSU or staying at Ole Miss. Same way on the other side. Brew, what do you think?
Coach, we talked about it earlier about how we felt about, who's the best program, who's the best team, where would you go if you could go anywhere in America? And I made the statement that I would go to LSU. And I think you concurred, Jim, with that. It's a great job. If the money is even close to what they're saying it is, high, $98-99 million over 5-6 years, whatever it may be. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. And the opportunity to win a national championship every single year, to recruit at a level that you can just, you can go get the best players in the country at LSU. And so, Mike, I'm just going to cut it right there. I'm going to say this. I think I will be shocked if he doesn't go to LSU.
Yeah, this all goes back to what we were talking about earlier, though. The losers in all this are the players,
right?
And the Ole Miss people, they're the losers in this, because if he decides to leave after the Egg Bowl, whether they win or lose the Egg Bowl, they're going to be in the national playoff picture. What does that do to that team and to that fan base? So we've got to do something about the calendar and the way things are done right now to avoid situations like this. I don't blame Lane Kiffin. I don't blame Jimmy Sexton. I don't blame any of them. It's the system that we have. The system that we have right now is screwed up.
Don't hate the player, hate the game, right?
That is so correct.
This has been Bold North State Football Daily, an exclusive presentation of the North Carolina Sports Network. Make sure you follow us on social media at the NC Sports Net, and check out our website that is wall-to-wall coverage of North Carolina sports at ncsportsnetwork.com. Our foundational partner is the North Carolina Pork Council, raising the bacon, raising the bar. Telling the stories of the bold North State. This is the North Carolina Sports Network.